which relates to the real human security of the peoples. And in this area, cooperation has been continuing. Like a very typical case is off the coast of Somalia, and anti-piracy cooperation still goes on very, very strongly. And environmental protection, you know, the PM 2.5 problem in China, or whatever. So we should also try to focus on those positive side of things. You know, Japan-China relations has two aspects. One is the resilient aspect, and the other is the fragile aspect. So both countries should cooperate to promote the resilient aspect and try to contain the fragile aspect. It's very unfortunate that the common sense that's shared amongst the Chinese people and the Chinese academics on the one hand about issues in Japan-China relations, for example, the Senkakus or the Yasukuni Shrine or the Nanjing Massacre for that matter, and the common sense that's shared by the Japanese people, the public and the academia, so wide apart, and a person like me should feel responsible for this, you know, but we have to narrow this gap. Between academics, we should have more exchange, but the difficulty is that when it comes to publishing the results of our research, on the Chinese side, there is political intervention. One typical case was the history joint study that we conducted a few years ago. This was an attempt to separate history from politics, you know, so that history won't disturb the political development of the relationship. We did it for 3 years. Very constructive process. The Japanese side will write our papers, the Chinese side will write theirs, then we'll be commenting on what the other side wrote. And if it was a reasonable comment, we will accept that and revise our papers. We did several rounds of this, and the result was fine. And it was promised that we would publish not only the papers but also the comments. But in the end, and the Chinese academics were happy about all this. But in the end, they told us that they cannot publish the results, you know, and they couldn't tell us why. So we negotiated, we pushed back, they pushed back, and in the end, we published the papers, but we had to drop the papers that were on the post-World War II dates. So that was one compromise, and also we had to drop all the comments that we made about the other paper. And you can read the papers that were published. You can download them from the website of the Japanese Foreign Ministry, but you cannot find it anywhere in China. We should all first try to gather facts. What are the facts? The Chinese present their facts, the Japanese present our facts. So it's first important to check all these and find out what was it that really happened in 1895, for example, or 1972, 1978, 2012, or whatever, and begin from the facts. And if you check the facts, then you'll come to understand why the Chinese are interpreting the facts in a certain way, and why the Japanese are interpreting the facts in a certain way. So that's just one example, but since it's a very politicized thing now, whatever the issue is in Japan-China relations, we have to be cool-headed and be checking information that's coming out both from Japan and China.